scourge in our society. It ruins lives. And to be in any way dismissive or vague around that, I think is appalling.
Kate Nicholl, thank you very much indeed. The Loyalist Jamie Bryson is with us this morning. Good morning to you, Jamie.
Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning. Can you give me a sense on the Woodvale and the Shankle Road? Is it unlikely that attacks on Ray Estates or indeed any other building would happen on that road without the consent of the UDA or the UVF? How much control do they have of the area, Jamie?
Well, I don't know. I haven't been speaking to anybody this morning, so I don't know. I don't know much about that situation beyond what I've seen online. So I mean, I can't give.
Well, you have a sense. I'm not asking you specifically about this weekend, but I'm asking you for your analysis on how much do the paramilitary UDA, UVF usually have? Do they still have control of that area?
Well, I think the difficulty, and we'll have to view this in the context of recent days, is, I mean, like, there's a really difficult, important conversation to be had here, and it can't be had in 5 minutes, but, summarising it, narrowing it down, there's been some very subtle and not so subtle commentary and suggestions that, what is the UVF and UDA and why are they not stopping this, actually, in recent days. But there's a fundamental problem with that because, many times I've been on your show, we've spent, a decade talking about transition, and the question constantly posed is why are loyalist paramilitaries like the UVF and UDA still in existence? Why are they not going away? So, I mean, you can't on one hand say these groups need to go away, these groups need to transition. And by the way, to my knowledge, they want to transition, certainly leaderships of those groups. But then on the other hand, to say, well, there's gangs of young people involved in violence. Why is the UVF and UDA not stopping it? Because in order to stop it, they would have to exercise a very coercive control that people want them to move away from. So I think people need to be very careful about that. And I think people need to be very careful about starting to blame organisations.
It's going to
and the police aren't saying that.
Well, the police are. Yes. So yesterday the police said there is no doubt. They said that there is paramilitary involvement in the attacks that we're seeing on the ground.
No. She said that there was some involved. There was a paramilitary element to it, but she could not say if that was being orchestrated. And to be fair to Melanie Jones, if you listen to the entirety of her contribution, it's a lot more nuanced than the headlines suggest. So this is a very, very complex situation. I don't think it needs to be made any worse. I think people from within the nationalist community also need to be very careful here because what we've seen now is calls from nationalist MLAs and others for mass mobilisation of people on Friday night onto the streets. Now, if that leads to attacks in interfaith communities and leads to more disorder, so there needs to be, the media have a job to do here because quite correctly the media, have pressed people like me who support peaceful protest. I mean, I've been pressed on the BBC. Is that sensible bringing people onto the streets? But yet there's no such pressure put on people who are calling for mass mobilisation on the streets, which could well lead to interfaith violence and ratchet up tensions. And that is unacceptable.
Do you think, Jamie, that and I'm talking here about the majority view within the loyalist community. Do you think there is a deeply embedded racism where they do not want black or brown or people from ethnic minorities living beside them as their neighbours?
No, I don't. I mean, I had asylum seekers playing on my football team. So no, I don't. And the important message here is there's genuine, legitimate, absolutely important, and we need to do this when there's more time. But there's legitimate concerns about the immigration, mass immigration, multiculturalism. Those are legitimate concerns of ordinary, decent, hard-working people. But that's about policy and not to be directed in violence against people. So we need to separate out the concerns, the legitimate concerns of a huge majority of people within unionism and loyalism. I would say other communities as well, from a minority who.
But why are they not concerns about housing rather than about people with a different colour of skin? It's nothing to do with these people, is it?
I don't entirely recognise the framing of that. It's about different people's colours of their skin. What you did yesterday, I mean, look, and I'm not criticising you for this, but you went into a loyalist community you picked the most extreme view you could find, which was
just
literally
wrong. You're wrong.
No, sorry. However that came about, literally, you picked a man outside a bar.
I did not.
And well, okay. The person being interviewed was a man outside a bar.
The person being interviewed laughed at the man who had been burnt out of the shop, walked across to me, took a photograph of me, and then said that the BBC was so biased that they wouldn't let him have a voice. He had a voice, and his own voice depicted himself accurately.
But there's an importance from your point of view in terms of there's a huge power imbalance there. I'm not saying you were wrong to broadcast those views. It was disgraceful, and I want to reject what was said. But let me just make this point, Stephen.
You need to be quick.
If you went into that far left protest at City Hall, you would find extreme views on that side of it as well. But that wouldn't be presented and used as a smear for that entire protest.
Jimmy, thank you. We'll see you all tomorrow. Tweet.